if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because this is just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is, we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But you know, if people start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. Good morning and welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. On a delayed episode because I've been busy. We're going to catch up a little bit, but we're going to talk about some of the more recent news stories at the same time. So why don't we just dive on in with some of the stories we missed, and mostly from the last week, I'm going to be completely honest. Number one, because I'm a little congested, I don't know if you can hear it. Venom: The Last Dance trailer has been released. Now, I don't know if I did it on here, if I did it on Beware of Spoilers, but I did speculate we're going to get a Venom or a Kraven trailer this week because, as we know, when a studio puts out a new movie, they like to have a trailer for their next movie attached before it, and usually it's the last trailer before you see the movie. Sony has 2 major releases left this year with Kraven the Hunter, which actually may have gotten delayed if I remember correctly, and Venom: The Last Dance. Yes, I think it's delayed. It got delayed to December, which means this is the next big release before it. So what we got was we got a trailer for Venom: The Last Dance, and I don't think I've ever seen it in a situation where a movie is being advertised based on the bloat. And because the thing is, it's like, it seems like there are two very different movies in play here. There's the continuation of the story with Eddie on the run following the events of Let There Be Carnage and his brief MCU stint in No Way Home, which, by the way, quick detour, No Way Home is back in theaters this week, as part of Sony's thing. It's ridiculous they're keeping the post. I mean, maybe they change it and maybe it's just the exact same length, but why would you keep the Doctor Strange end credits instead of replacing it with a special trailer for Deadpool 3? Because that'll get people to go see it in the theater. Anyway, the point is, he's now back in the Sony universe of Marvel characters, and now he's kind of, and now he's back to being on the run. At the same time, there is what's it called? At the same time, there is this issue with, what's his name? With, the rest of the symbiotes coming to Earth. And that's the big invasion. Now, look, I think that the fundamental story we're going to have here is that the main plot of the movie is going to be the on the run and the story of Eddie and Venom on the run. And then I feel like this invasion of symbiotes is going to come at the very end. But either way, nothing about this seems great. And the way I found out is I was watching a YouTube video while I was at work, and because what I do is I just keep a Let's Play going on my phone and use it as like a podcast. So I'm listening to this, and then it cuts to an ad, and it's the Venom trailer, and I was like, oh, I guess that's out now. So regardless, I mean, I don't think the Venom trailer looks great. It looks like more of what we got with Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage, which is just kind of subpar movies with Venom in it. They're not the worst Sony Spider-Man adjacent movies because like Madam Web exists and Morbius exists, but they're just unsatisfying experiences, and this looks like just another one of those. And it hasn't done anything to show like, hey, we've listened, we've learned, we're doing something different. It just looks like more of the same, which is a shame. On the topic of more of the same, in a good way, Knives Out 3 is coming next year from Rian Johnson, and we have information about it. The movie will be called Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, and alongside Daniel Craig reprising as Detective Benoit. Is that his name? I think so. Benoit Blanc. That's his name. Alongside him, he will have the following cast that's been announced so far. Daryl McCormick, who I'm not familiar with. Kerry Washington from Scandal, who's fantastic. Jeremy Renner. Obviously, we know who Jeremy Renner is. Josh O'Connor, who just had a fantastic performance in Challengers. Mila Kunis. Glenn Close. Andrew Scott, coming off of All of Us Strangers. Kaylee Spaney, who's coming off of just a phenomenal, 1-2 punch with Priscilla and then Civil War. And that's it. That's all we have so far. I think this is a strong cast. I do like this thing where it's like we're taking some of the biggest names and putting them into this, and I think this is a cool way to do it. I think this could be something, you know, reasonably interesting. I'm a little confused about why Mila Kunis of all people. It feels like you have all these other people and then her. She feels kind of like the odd man out, odd woman out, and I think that is a little bit of a disappointment, but we'll see. But yeah, we have a lot of really great cast members. Now, the question that I have is Jeremy Renner playing himself? Because I seem to recall, and then that's the other thing is, number one, is Jeremy Renner playing himself? Because Jeremy Renner had a cameo, if you recall, in Glass Onion, because they had Jeremy Renner's hot sauce. So if Jeremy Renner exists in the world, this is just a guy who looks like Jeremy Renner. And the last two movies that we've had an Avenger appear in, between, I mean, technically, Edward Norton played the Incredible Hulk in the Incredible Hulk, and then Chris Evans was Captain America. The last two times that we had a what's it called, an MCU, superhero appear, and look, Drax was in it too because Dave Bautista was in the last one, and Colleen Wing. I mean, at this point, we're getting to the point where it's hard to not have an MCU actor or actress in your thing, because like Glenn Close was in that too, and she was also in the MCU. But the last time we had an Avenger, a leading Avenger, in it, they was the killer both times. So are we in the same place now, where is Jeremy Renner gonna be the killer? And is he playing himself? Important questions all around. Which brings us to number 3. Speaking of MCU cast, Giancarlo Esposito has joined the MCU in an undisclosed role. Now, this was first reported a few weeks ago when he was talking, I think it was CCXP, or it could have just been a different major event down in South America, but he was at a panel, and he says, yes, he has joined the MCU in an undisclosed role. Now we know, and he clarified at that time, this undisclosed role is not one people have speculated him to be playing in the past. So that eliminates Magneto. That eliminates Professor X. That eliminates what's the other big one I've seen him get thrown? I've seen people speculate him to be the new Kang the Conqueror. So the question is, what is he playing? And we also know the current reshoots on Brave New World, the upcoming Captain America movie coming next February, or possibly later, which we speculated this movie could get delayed to May. He is playing a undisclosed character in this movie who is the villain. Now, speculation time. We know that this movie will feature Eternal's Island, and when I say Eternal's Island, I mean the head of Tiamat, or not Tiamat. Was it Tiamat? the celestial that was being born out of the earth. That anytime an MCU movie comes out, people point to it, and it's like, this fucking thing came out of the ocean and no one's acknowledged it since it happened. Um, and it's like, okay, well, whatever. We don't need to sit here and talk about everything that happens all the time. It's like, I like, especially whatever. We're not gonna get into it. But the point is that that's gonna feature heavily in this movie. We also know it's gonna have a lot of characters from the Incredible Hulk, and there's rumors this is gonna be the introduction of adamantium to the MCU. Um, with the speculation being that when Cersei turned the what's it called, turned the the celestial into something, she turned it into pure adamantium. Um, um, and that will be the introduction of that as we move into the next phase of the MCU, not their phase, but the next part of the MCU, which is going to be including the X-Men. So here's the adamantium. All of that being what it is, I think what we're looking at in this movie, Giancarlo Esposito is going to be playing Stryker, the creator of the Sentinels. That gives him I think he's playing a major X-Men villain. Let's just put it out there. I think he's playing a major X-Men villain. If they want him to have a major role going forward, that's the way to do it. So he's either Stryker, because we know he's not Magneto, because it's not someone he previously speculated to be playing, but he's also playing Mr. Sinister. But I think the most likely is Stryker. Um, and having him in that role would put him in a good place going forward as the MCU move into a bigger role in the MCU. As the mutants move into a bigger role in the MCU. I'm sorry. That's just my speculation, though. I don't think we've seen any confirmation of that, and I don't have any insiders. So, you know, um, and if that's the case, then we'll see what it is. Story number 4. Sorry about that. Tom Bombadil will appear in Rings of Power Season 2. Now, Vanity Fair was the selected source on this. Vanity Fair put out images from Rings of Power Season 2, which is coming out this year, later in the year. And one of the pictures they showcased was Tom Bombadil, a character from the books Lord of the Rings. I definitely remember him from Fellowship of the Ring, because I read that fairly recently. Um, but he's there. He's kind of this omnipotent god character who's just a benign figure in Middle Earth who doesn't get involved with anything. And he's incredibly overpowered. We're talking power levels. So when they made the movies, he's not included. I think the most obvious reason why is, if we have people asking why don't the Eagles just fly the what's it called, fly the hobbits to Mordor, people are gonna be like, well, why didn't Tom Bombadil do something to stop to stop the you know, to stop Sauron when he could, if he's not corruptible by the ring, why didn't he just take it to Mordor and toss it in the fiery pits? And at that point, it's just easier to just omit him entirely from the story than have this entire can of worms that you're open by having this character exist. They're bringing him in here. And I think the issue, number one, my question is, when I saw this picture released, my question was, who is this for? Because the Vanity Fair photo releases are to get people on board who may not have, known about something. Because it's like when you watch, when they put out, when the MCU has a new thing come out, they'll be like, oh, if you don't follow this closely, here's the big reveal that Harrison Ford is now in the new Captain America movie, because it's at Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair is a mainstream news source. I mean, not that Variety isn't, but most people don't read that. More people will read Vanity Fair, and Vanity Fair running it will get more attention than Variety running it. So the point is, unless you're chronically online, but the point is, um, who wasn't watching Rings of Power for whatever reason, and is a Lord of the Rings fan, that sees Tom Bombadil in this, in this show, and is like, you know what? Now I'm on board. That's what confuses me about this whole thing. Who is this announcement for? This should have been a reveal when you're watching the show. And then on top of that too, it's like, well, why is he there? What is this going to introduce? And I feel like it's just gonna piss people off. That's just the feeling I have right now. And we'll wrap up there on that one. 'Cause I don't have anything else to say on that. It's like, what the fuck? Like, okay, cool. And then number 5, we have a trailer for Moana 2, which is Disney's big animated movie this year. It's coming out in the same slot they always do. They take the Thanksgiving weekend slot. With, I think the cast is returning, so you do have Dwayne Johnson coming back, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Ali Carvalho is coming back as Moana. And this is because Disney has had a few misses when it came to original content. So rather than grapple with, okay, what are we going to do in terms of original content, they're just like, let's just go back to the well as much as possible. And keep doing sequels to our existing IP, which, alright, fine. The visuals look impressive in this trailer. My issue with the trailer is that it doesn't show anything too different from what we saw in the first Moana. So what's the upgrade here? Like, when we saw the trailer for Toy Story 4, it's like, oh, this looks different. Like, and even like the trailer for like Inside Out 2, this looks different. This doesn't look like different improvement wise, where I'm like, oh, good, this is something that is needed and necessary. Which is a shame. It would have been nice to get that, but unfortunately, we don't get that here. I do think that this movie, though, does have the potential to have the funniest thing happen. And let me explain. Lin-Manuel Miranda very clearly wants an EGOT. And he's been trying to get this EGOT for quite some time. He just is the Oscar away, so he does music for Disney a lot. So he did like Little Mermaid. He added on some songs that weren't fantastic. He did new music for, I think he did a new song for The Lion King. And you can always tell what his new songs are because they all sound like Lin-Manuel Miranda songs. Like, he did the music for the first Moana. He did the music for Mary Poppins Returns and starred in it. And all of this is to say, he wants that. He wants that Oscar. He wants that Oscar. And it's kind of like Bradley Cooper, where they want the Oscar. They want that recognition. Um, so all of that said, he's not doing the music for this movie. He's doing the music for what's the other big movie coming? Oh, Mufasa. It would be kind of funny if he didn't win and lost out to an original song from Moana. That said, I do want him to win just so I can go back to doing Broadway stuff. Because I feel like that'll happen. Once he wins this Oscar, he goes back to Broadway. Because look, I loved In the Heights, and I loved Hamilton. So let's see him do more of that. Last week at the box office, I think these numbers are off because I got them from thenumbers.com, but Garfield's omitted from the top 10 entirely, and I don't think that's accurate. If took home number 1 according to these numbers at 10.8 million. Furiosa took home 10.75 million at number 2. Number 3 was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes at 8.8 million. The Fall Guy at 4.2 million at number 4, and then number 5, Haiku, the Dumpster Battle, which is an anime thing, took home 3.6 million. It's a volleyball anime. Coming to theaters this week, we have The Watcher, which is M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's movie, I believe, where he is it's with Dakota Fanning, and they're in this thing being watched by things outside. Also opening this week is Bad Boys Ride or Die, the movie that should have been called Bad Boys for Life, but it is what it is, the 4th Bad Boys movie. This week on DVD, the only thing that I see on the list that I'm familiar with is Wicked Little Letters, which I saw a few months ago, and it was actually pretty good. I really enjoyed that movie. I would recommend checking out if you have not seen it yet. It is about Jessie Buckley plays an Irish woman who's a little vulgar, who is accused of sending vulgar letters to people all over the country, and Olivia Colman plays her friend / neighbor who eventually presses charges. It's a pretty interesting movie, and it's really funny. I'd recommend watching it if you haven't seen it already. But we will wrap up there for today. Next week we'll be back as normal. I was a little busy this last week, but next week we will be back as normal. Until then, have a great rest of your week.